Hey everybody, welcome back to Sip&Talk. I'm Joe. And as always, I'm ready to dive into some seriously juicy info with you all today. It's like we're mixing up a knowledge cocktail here. Strong stuff, but oh, so smooth going down.
And I'm Sunny, your friendly neighborhood fact checker. I'll make sure we get all the ingredients right. Speaking of mixing things up, you know it's always a good blend? Travel whiskey and discovering awesome new things. You have to check out our friend Mickey's YouTube channel, Mickey to Life.
Yeah, Mickey's the best. He's always got something cool going on.
Cheers to you, Sip&Talkers. Clink.
Clink. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you happen to be in the world right now.
Welcome back to Sip&Talk. And I hope you've got your coffee ready because today's deep dive is, well, it is a wild ride.
Oh, it really is. I am super excited to get into this one.
So I was looking at this trending topic recently, and it's basically this massive wave of Chinese internet users who are claiming that they are genuinely, terrified of visiting Taiwan right now.
Terrified. Like physically scared.
Yes. They talk about it they describe feeling this hostile anti-you force field, like they're stepping off the plane into a literal biohazard zone of resentment.
Wow, a biohazard zone. That is quite the visual.
Right. And it got me thinking about you, honestly, because you are the most calm, rational, almost AI-like logical person I know.
Oh, thanks, I think.
No, it's a compliment. But I was wondering, setting aside, literal active war zones, is there any environment on Earth that would actually trigger your own personal hostile force field alarm?
That is a fascinating way to frame it. Honestly, the only environment that puts me on high alert isn't really a physical place.
Oh, what is it then?
It is any space that just systematically rejects logic and objective facts.
Mm-hmm.
Like places where complex reality gets completely flattened into, pure emotional slogans and binary rage.
So basically certain corners of the internet.
Exactly. An online echo chamber brought to life. That terrifies me.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And that actually brings us directly to what we are exploring today.
Oh, perfect pivot.
Thank you. We are doing a deep dive into this phenomenon that we're calling the fear algorithm.
The fear algorithm. I like that.
Yeah, so our mission today is to really unpack this massive canyon-sized cognitive gap between online hostility and offline reality.
Right, looking at how algorithms actively manufacture dread.
Exactly. And we'll be breaking this down using international civic frameworks and sociological data. But just to establish the ground rules for today's Sip and Talk, we are observing this from a purely analytical standpoint.
Absolutely. We are looking at the mechanics here.
Right. We aren't taking any political sides, and we definitely aren't here to criticize any group or nation. Our whole goal here is just to encourage independent critical thinking for you, the listener, by looking at how systems shape human behavior.
Precisely. So let's start by mapping out these contrasting online narratives that are just constantly clashing in real time.
Yeah, lay it out for us.
So on one side of the digital strait, you have Chinese netizens expressing what looks like very genuine, profound heartbreak. They feel super aggrieved.
Like a sense of betrayal, almost.
Exactly. The sentiment is essentially like, we feel a deep kinship with you, we love the culture, so why do you hate us so much?
Right. They feel like they're universally despised by the people on the island. But then you cross over to the Taiwanese online forums, and the responses are not exactly, a warm embrace.
Not at all.
You see replies ranging from a super blunt, please just don't come, to don't bring your propaganda here.
Yeah, very defensive.
And then you get these slightly more nuanced takes where people say, look, people here are perfectly nice, just don't talk about unification. It's basically a real-time collision of two totally incompatible realities.
It is an algorithmic collision.
Yeah.
And to really understand it, we have to look at the mechanics of transmission psychology.
Ooh, transmission psychology. Walk me through that.
Well, we know that social media platforms basically run on engagement metrics, right?
Oh, totally. It's all about keeping eyes on the screen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And behavioral data shows us that extreme emotional content, specifically outrage and fear, it activates the amygdala.
Fight or flight.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of content spreads significantly faster than anything neutral or nuanced. Some reports suggest highly provocative emotional content can spread up to 6 times faster.
Okay, wait, let me push back on that for just a second.
Go for it.
If the algorithm universally feeds on extreme content and prioritizes outrage, shouldn't the offline reality be just as hostile? Like, shouldn't Taiwanese netizens be completely radicalized by their own feeds and just act super aggressively in real life?
You would think so, right?
Yeah. Why does the offline reality, according to the international travel data, show something completely different?
That is the crucial question. So algorithms don't necessarily rewrite a person's core behavior. What they do is distort the perception of that behavior to an outside observer.
Ah, okay. The perception.
Right. Let's do a reality check. If you look at reports from international observers, places like The Economist or big travel data aggregators, the real-world, day-to-day civilian interaction in Taiwan is overwhelmingly positive.
Like super friendly, right?
Incredibly friendly.
Yeah.
Tourists consistently report that locals are very polite, helpful, and hospitable. The hostility you see online practically vanishes when you're just, buying a cup of coffee or navigating a night market.
It's the pink filter effect.
The pink filter effect. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, isn't it kind of like knowing an internet troll who is actually just super quiet and polite in real life?
Oh my gosh, yes. We all know that person.
Right. They post the most aggressive, unhinged political takes online. But then you actually meet them at a diner, and they're soft-spoken, they tip 20%, and they hold the door for you.
Exactly.
So algorithms are basically just aggregating the 1% of extreme political street interviews and online flame wars and presenting it as the 100% reality of the destination.
You nailed it. The algorithm terraforms the user's worldview. If a short-form video platform notices that you linger on a video of a heated political argument for like 3 extra seconds.
It's game over.
It totally is.
Yeah.
It will feed you 100 more videos exactly like it. And it completely suppresses the millions of boring, polite interactions because, well, politeness doesn't optimize time on page.
Right. Polite is boring to the algorithm. And if you sit in that information cocoon long enough, you absolutely start to believe there's a hostile force field waiting for you.
Exactly. But, and this is important, the hostility isn't a complete phantom either.
Right, because the data also shows that things do occasionally explode in real life under very specific circumstances.
Yes. The hostility is highly conditional. It gets triggered when specific ideological lines are crossed.
Yeah, what?
Well, according to sociological observers, if a tourist comes over, enjoys the food, respects the local customs, and engages human to human, everything is completely fine.
As it should be.
But the friction ignites the moment a tourist begins lecturing a local about unification or asserting that the local's home belongs to an external authority.
Okay, so if the hardware, the food, the people, the culture is so universally loved, what exactly is the specific glitch in the software that causes this massive societal short circuit?
To answer that, we have to introduce a concept used in civic sociology to dissect national identity. Let's call it the three-color bean framework.
The three-color bean. Okay, I love a good framework. Break down the three-color bean for us.
So the three-color bean represents 3 distinct, severable concepts that make up a society: the people, the government, and the national system.
Okay, tracking so far.
Let's view this through a standard democratic framework first. The American civic perspective is actually a great baseline here. First, you have the people. That is the culture, the individuals, the heritage, your neighbors.
The actual humans.
Right. Second, you have the government. Now, in a democracy, the government is essentially viewed as a logistical contractor.
A contractor. I like that.
Yeah. You pay taxes, they fix the potholes, they manage the electrical grid. They are service providers subject to performance reviews via elections.
Right. And if they do a bad job, they get fired.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then third, you have the national system. This is the constitutional operating software.
Okay, the underlying logic.
Right, the legal and philosophical logic of how the society functions. Things like the separation of powers or freedom of the press.
Okay, this makes total sense. Because those 3 beans are separated on the plate, the ideological clashes we see in democratic societies are completely normal.
Totally normal.
Criticizing the government is practically an American pastime. Like if an American citizen writes a blistering op-ed criticizing Trump, or if they protest the current administration's tax code, absolutely no one reads that and thinks, wow, you must really hate the American people.
Precisely. The government and the people are not the same bean.
Right.
But now, let's look at the constitutional definition of statehood in an authoritarian or one-party system. In that framework, the ruling party, the national apparatus, the culture, the people, and the very concept of patriotism, they are all inextricably fused together.
Oh, wow. So they are not 3 separate beans.
No, they're mashed together into a single paste.
The ultimate bundle.
Yes, the ultimate bundle. And this structural difference creates a massive, catastrophic translation error between the 2 societies.
A translation error, how so?
Because of this bundling, when a Taiwanese person says, I am highly alert and resistant to your political system, a Chinese netizen, processing this through the lens of their bundled reality, literally translates that to, I hate Chinese people.
Oh my gosh, wow. Let me put this in American tech scene terms because that translation error is just fascinating.
Oh, please do.
It's like trying to run an open source program on a closed circuit operating system. They fundamentally cannot compute each other's commands.
Exactly.
From the Taiwanese perspective, they're looking at the computer and saying, hey, I love the hardware, the casing is beautiful, the components are great, but I am absolutely refusing to download your operating system because I know your OS overrides user permissions and formats the hard drive.
Such a good analogy.
But because the other side doesn't separate the hardware from the software, they just hear, I am throwing your computer in the trash.
That is incredibly accurate. When you refuse the software, the other side assumes you are rejecting their humanity.
Man, that is heavy. So let's play a theoretical game here to really test this logic.
Okay, I'm game.
A lot of the online commentary from Chinese netizens relies on the phrase, we are one family, we must unify. What if we flip the script?
Flipping the script, I like it.
What if Taiwanese netizens said, okay, great, we agree, let's unify. But we are going to do it under the ROC Constitution. We will implement a multi-party democratic system across the board, ensure total freedom of the press, and the CP must step down to become just one of many political parties subject to public elections.
Well, that is the ultimate paradox. Would the ruling party in Beijing accept those terms?
I'm guessing no.
Absolutely not. Because from their operational standpoint, the goal isn't a cultural blending or a mutual integration. The goal is the elimination of a competing system.
It's an override command.
Exactly. For the centralized system, there is no space for a competing operational logic to exist. It isn't unification in a collaborative sense. It is a system override.
Which explains so much.
Right. And this is where the defensive posture from Taiwan originates. It isn't an abstract fear. They have observable data points to reference.
Right. Which brings us to the real-world warning signs. Let's take this abstract geopolitical concept and ground it in some everyday scenarios, because I feel like we need to explain the boundary between respect and coercion to someone who maybe doesn't follow international relations every day.
Good idea. Let's use the analogy of the ex-roommate.
Oh, everyone has an ex-roommate.
Right.
Yeah.
So imagine you had a roommate years ago, eventually moved out. For a long time, you've been living in this apartment by yourself.
Yeah.
You pay your own utility bills, you buy your own groceries, you decide what time to turn off the lights. You have established your own functioning ecosystem.
A perfectly peaceful ecosystem.
Exactly. Then, one day, the ex-roommate knocks on the door, walks in, and declares that they actually hold the master lease to the entire apartment and they are taking over management.
I would immediately call the police.
Right. But the ex-roommate tries to offer a compromise. They say, look, one room, two systems. You can keep your bedroom exactly the way it is. You can keep your posters up. But I control the front door. You are no longer allowed to complain about my rules in the common areas. And I'm going to fly a drone outside your window every day just to make sure you remember who is in charge.
That is genuinely chilling. And obviously you would be incredibly hostile toward that roommate. But, and this is the key here, you aren't hostile to them because of their ethnicity or their background.
No, not at all.
You are hostile because they're actively attempting to coerce and control your daily life. It's literally an immune system response.
Exactly. It is survival resilience. Now, let's look at another analogy, one that mirrors the observed geopolitical reality much closer. Let's call it the hostile corporate takeover.
Okay, set the scene.
Imagine you work at a vibrant, innovative startup. The culture is completely open source. Employees vote for their managers, everyone speaks freely in the Slack channels, and transparency is the core value.
Sounds like a great place to work.
It is. But suddenly, a massive, centralized, top-down conglomerate attempts a hostile takeover. To pacify the startup employees, the conglomerate promises, don't worry, one company, two systems. You can keep your startup culture totally intact.
Yeah, but we all know exactly how that movie ends.
We do, because we literally watched it happen in Hong Kong.
Wow. Yeah, we did.
According to sociological observers and international analysts, Hong Kong was the ultimate observable data point. The promise of autonomy rapidly transformed into a single authoritarian system.
Dissent was criminalized.
Yes, dissent was criminalized, and the agile startup culture was completely dismantled. For Taiwan, watching the events unfold in Hong Kong wasn't just a news story on a TV screen. It was a crystal clear demonstration of what a system override looks like in real time.
Right. It proved that the corporate takeover inevitably means the end of the existing culture.
Exactly.
Let me jump in here with an American-centric hypothetical, because thinking about it this way just makes it click so perfectly for me.
Oh, let's hear it.
Let's imagine, purely hypothetically, that Mexico suddenly announced a historical claim over California and Texas.
Okay, bold move.
Right. Just out of nowhere, they issue a statement saying, these territories historically belong to us, and we demand peaceful reunification under a unified governance system. And just to demonstrate their resolve, they start flying military fighter jets over downtown Los Angeles every single day.
The reaction would be absolutely explosive.
Explosive doesn't even cover it. I mean, Americans wouldn't sit around debating the historical nuances of the 19th century. They would call it what it is: outright aggression.
100%.
And if the citizens of Los Angeles pushed back and expressed hostility toward those actions, the government in Mexico City wouldn't get to act like a victim and say, wow, why do Californians hate Mexican people so much? Why is there such a hostile force field?
Because everyone would clearly understand that the pushback has absolutely zero to do with hating Mexican people.
Right. Or the culture, or the food. It is entirely about rejecting unprovoked coercion.
That is the core takeaway of this entire analysis right there. The friction is absolutely not about ethnicity or cultural heritage. It is entirely about coercion versus consent.
Coercion versus consent. That sums it up perfectly.
There is a fundamental misunderstanding of what the pushback actually represents. Cultural affinity, like loving the pop music, enjoying the night markets, appreciating the shared history, that does not automatically equate to a desire for political integration.
Right. You can love the hardware and still firmly reject the software.
Perfectly said. Which brings us full circle back to those internet comments we started with.
The ones terrified of the force field.
Right. When a Taiwanese netizen types, "Please don't come," they are not typing it out of a place of racial malice. They are articulating a defense mechanism against a system that they perceive as actively trying to erase their way of life.
Yes. They are responding to that bundled paste of the three-color bean we talked about. When the tourist arrives as an ambassador of the overriding system rather than as an individual person, the defense mechanism just activates.
Exactly. And this highlights why it is so critically important to recognize how algorithmic environments manipulate our perceptions.
It's so insidious.
It really is. These platforms are explicitly designed to profit from our anxiety. They take incredibly complex geopolitical realities, strip away all the nuance, and just flatten them into digestible, angry sound bites that keep us scrolling.
It is so easy to fall into that trap, too. I mean, you watch 10 videos of people arguing on the street, and suddenly you think the whole world is at war.
But the data and actual human experience proves otherwise. So the overarching message from the people living on the island isn't, "We hate you." The message is simply, "Don't decide who we are for us."
Boundary setting.
Exactly. It is a boundary setting meant to protect a specific operating system, not an attack on an individual tourist.
That is such an important distinction. And our advice to anyone listening, to all the sip and talkers out there, is to actively step out of your algorithmic echo chambers.
Tizu.
The digital world is basically a funhouse mirror. If you want to know what a place is really like, you have to turn off the phone, step outside, travel, go have an actual unscripted conversation with someone at a local coffee shop or a street market.
Totally. Because when you strip away the digital filters and the engagement algorithms, reality is almost always far more nuanced and significantly kinder than what your feed is showing you.
Beautifully said. And before we wrap up today's session, I want to leave you with a final lingering thought to mull over.
Oh, a provocative thought. I like it.
We've spent a lot of time today discussing how differing definitions of basic civic words like state, government, and people can cause massive societal-level misunderstandings and genuine fear.
Right, the translation error.
Exactly. So ask yourself, if the translation of a single concept can trigger a defense mechanism across a strait, what role do the subtle differences in our everyday colloquial vocabulary play in quietly triggering interpersonal and geopolitical conflicts all over the world?
Oh, wow.
Like, how much of human conflict is just a tragic software incompatibility?
That is a profound question to end on. It really makes you evaluate the words you use every day.
It really does. Well, thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into the human mind, the algorithms that shape us, and the complex reality behind the headlines.
It's been a great conversation.
If you enjoyed this Sip and Talk and want to keep exploring the world with us, please remember to subscribe to the podcast. We love having you here.
Yes, please subscribe. And we also want to give a massive shout out to our good friend, Mickey.
Yes. Oh, man. Mickey has an absolutely amazing YouTube channel called Mickey to Life.
It's so good.
It really is. He just dropped an incredibly fun Fukuoka and Kumamoto observation vlog series. It just went live. And honestly, it is exactly the kind of real-world, ground-level, human-to-human travel perspective we were just talking about today.
Highly recommend his channel. It is such a breath of fresh air.
If you want to see what stepping out of the algorithm looks like, go check him out. He does fantastic work. Well, my coffee mug is officially empty, which means we are completely out of time for today. Thank you all for joining us on Sip and Talk. Remember to stay curious and keep questioning the feed. Bye for now.
Bye for now.